Reality sucks, and video games numb the pain. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast. I am Darwin Lopez,
Alejandro Hernandez.
Mark Huerta.
Stephanie Alamio.
and today we will be discussing a 2018 blockbuster movie, Ready Player One. Directed by Steven Spielberg, Ready Player One is based on the novel of the same title and written by Ernest Cline, published in 2011.
Ready Player One takes place in 2045 Columbus, Ohio, and follows Wade Watts as he embarks on a virtual reality quest. Much of the world revolves around the creation of a virtual world known as the Oasis. When the creator of the Oasis dies, he leaves behind his fortune to whoever can complete the challenges and find the key. Wade sees this as an opportunity to obtain a better life and reform the broken economic system. This, of course, is not without conflict from an evil corporation that wants to take control of the Oasis for their own greedy desires.
In this session, we will be talking about what made the movie successful, but at the same time mediocre. We'll discuss the pop culture references, mainly the many fictional characters that pulled in so many viewers. Also, we'll talk about the use of special effects, since half of the movie takes place in a CGI virtual world.
Lastly, we will debate other plots of the movie, taking into account what works and what doesn't. Despite having average scores across critics and the audience, Ready Player One fails at meeting its full potential due to misplaced focus. Focus is something that can backfire if placed heavily in one direction. In Ready Player One case, they focus heavily on references and Easter eggs that may have not even been necessary.
Ready Player One became very popular and successful at targeting its audience, mainly for its pop culture references. According to the article, Tapping at Nostalgia is Ready Player One's biggest strength and weakness. It was noted that the director Steven Spielberg believed having other pop culture references for movie nerds, gamers, bookworms, and pop culture geeks would connect more with the audience. It was also intended to put so many pop cultural references, so if someone weren't a gamer or a movie nerd, then bookworms would be able to relate. Some of the pop culture references that were shown in the film were King Kong, Jurassic Park, Tron, Superman, Beetlejuice, The Shining, Bigfoot, Overwatch, and so many other references that would almost take the whole page. All of the characters that were referenced in the film are characters that are well known by most people. In the article How the Team Behind Ready Player One Wrangled a Bonanza of Pop written by Josh Rottenberg, the director mentioned how the whole team tried very hard putting in a reference from the Blade Runner, but the producers at Alkin Entertainment didn't approve it because the Blade Runner 2049 film coming out, the film did a good job referencing most of the audience to putting them back into the 80s and 90s mindset or their childhood. Although some people liked the idea of having all these references in the film, other people thought that the characters were really undeveloped, and without the references, the film would have been worse.
So, how did you guys feel about all the characters that were in the film?
I liked seeing dinosaurs in King Kong,
Yeah?
in my opinion. Yeah, because like I'm not really a gamer, so like how would I relate to like the seeing like Overwatch?
Mhm.
Like I don't know, I never played that game, but seeing other characters were like, oh, I know this character.
I thought that, having Mecha Godzilla at the end was was a little bit ridiculous. I mean, they because it wasn't seen anywhere else in the film. Like, it seemed like a bit OP out of nowhere, you know?
See, that's the point, because since they didn't get every part of the book, you don't know where Mechagodzilla came from.
Yeah.
They just put it at the end.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, my personal favorite was the McLaren and the race, just because it's kind of alluding to Back to the Future, and then it so happened that in order to win the key, Wade had to go backwards. So it was kind of interesting. I kind of thought it was funny, and so is The Shining too, because The Shining is such an old movie now.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how they made one of the characters who's never seen The Shining struggle through that whole little maze that's going on, because in a way, a lot of the the kids that are probably watching the movie are like, "What the heck is The Shining?"
And I know we talked about how they wanted Blade Runner 2049. I also heard that the reason why we didn't see a lot of other characters is because Nintendo and Disney didn't want to give permission, because they didn't want Steven Spielberg making money off of their characters. So no Mario,
Yeah,
no Spider-Man.
yeah, that kind of makes sense, but in a way, it's kind of good because it would have been so many characters, and there in so many pop culture. It would have been overwhelming for the director and everyone working in that movie to add in such iconic characters where people are gonna be like, oh my god, look, it's Mario, and then oh my god, like, you know, it's who else, Superman or Batman.
I don't think the movie would have worked without all the characters, because if everything was just like a personal avatar, like, you know, just how, like, I believe how Wade and Artemis, how they look in the game, like that's their personal avatars, but not everyone does that. And I thought having the other characters made it a little bit more visually appealing. Like, you know, you look off and you see like, oh hey, that's Tracer from Overwatch. You know, gives you something else to look at.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that in a way. Yeah,
For me personally, I was excited about the horror film characters like Freddy Krueger, Chucky, and everything. Instead of using them like in some kind of like horror kind of thing, they used it as a kind of like funny kind of act.
like a comedic.
Yeah, comedic.
Does it have
act.
some comedy?
Yeah, right. Because like they throw Chucky at someone and kill someone, and then Freddy Krueger's dying all the
I think
time.
Gremlins too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the Chucky part was the funny part because it brought back nightmares to, you know, when I was a kid and Chucky first came out, and I didn't want to even look at any doll for the rest of my life. So seeing Chucky just like being thrown at and the dude responding, oh, it's Chucky, you know, like that's kind of how I would feel too if Chucky's being thrown at me. So.
Yeah, basically the whole movie is just one big Easter egg hunt, which then goes in with what the movie is about, is finding Easter eggs. Although at the same time, it kind of defeats the purpose of an Easter egg, because the Easter eggs normally in film, like an Easter egg is cool because you didn't see it the first time, but in Ready Player One, a lot of times it's like, oh, here's an Easter egg, here's an Easter egg, here's an Easter egg. And I think that might make it a norm if it's done over and over again. But
I mean, can you argue that maybe there were Easter eggs within that Easter egg?
you could argue that, yeah, because I have seen stuff coming out later on saying like, oh, I bet you didn't see this while watching Ready Player One, you know, with the big giant red circles and the arrows.
Yeah, so it's like,
Because there were so many, but you missed so many through the movie. You only saw like kind of like the main characters that were put in front of you, not what you saw in the back.
exactly. So in a way, all the Easter eggs that they put, you still don't see everything. There's still Easter eggs. So to me, it didn't fully defeat the purpose of what an Easter egg is, because there's still stuff you have to look at specifically.
So having all those pop culture characters seemingly helped bring the audience, but the challenge from it was creating all of those characters in CGI. Ready Player One is known for its excessive use of CGI. Any scene taking place in the Oasis is computer generated, as it is a virtual world. Even scenes that take place in the real world are CGI through the use of green screen for the decrepit slums of Columbus, Ohio. Now to some, this is an amazing technological feat that they were able to achieve so much and have it come out so beautifully. But to others, it brings up a fear of relying too heavily on computers, meaning that the use of practical effects is rapidly decreasing and putting the art at risk. The movie was mainly shot on motion capture and using the Medusa performance capture system for facial recognition. So how do you guys feel about all the CGI, all the computer-generated images in the movie? Think it helped it?
I wasn't a big fan of it,
No?
in my opinion. I think it was too pale. It didn't have much color. I'm not sure. It didn't give me a feeling. 'Cause sometimes color makes you feel a certain way. I didn't get any emotions. And also, I think some of the characters look too cheesy. Like Chucky, or even, what's her name?
Artemis?
No, the one from Joker.
Oh, Harley Quinn?
Harley Quinn, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was kind of obvious, like, certain characters had a lot more work done on them than others. Like, obviously, the main characters, like, gamer models were more detailed, and then you'd see, like, a Tracer or Harley Quinn or Joker in the background that was kind of a little bit dull, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. Because you could see them all the time.
Yeah.
You saw them walking around and doing everything. For me personally, I really didn't like the CGI. I think it was too animated. Like, the characters had big eyeballs, and mostly there was a lot of light reflecting at you. It's kind of annoying and it hurt my eyes.
Like glares.
Yeah, lots of glares. Do you guys think the same, or?
I personally kind of have to disagree.
Oh.
I thought that the CGI was
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I actually really enjoyed the CGI. One of my favorite scenes was the dance battle scene at the club.
Mm.
There was a lot of strobing lights, and I think that was the scene that got me hooked into being in a different world, in a virtual world.
I got a question for you. Do you think, because I think like 75% of the movie is all CGI, it's all motion cap. So do you
That's
think
true.
it needed that much?
I think it did.
I think it did because if it took place in the real world, I think it would have made the movie more boring than it actually was.
Yeah, the whole part of it for me with the CGI was, you know, this is the future in their eyes. It's their creative, original standpoint on it. You know, even if it's from the book, you know, it's something that they've derived and made it, you know, through computer generated images. For example, the stacks. You know, I didn't think of what if our future is stacked houses or stacked cars, like it showed. And then you travel into this different world, which is the Oasis, and it's like amazing. You know, you got a race car, you fighting other people, like you're in a video game. And as an audience member, me watching all the crazy and the erratic movements that's going on, it enticed me into a different world that I kind of find appealing.
You know what, I do find a certain scene that was pretty incredible how the CGI happened when I think it was like the first race.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know how King Kong and
Yeah.
like, I don't know, it was just a lot of details in there.
Yeah,
so
that
it was
was-
just
that
like
was a
I
good
think that was
scene.
my favorite part in the CGI. But like overall, I think they needed more improvement in.
Do you guys think that more practical effects should have been done? And I kind of feel like practical effects are becoming less and less every year now. That's why I feel like it's kind of a lost art. Aside from like, you know, that The Last Jedi where they used like the Yoda puppet and CGI on that. I thought that was pretty good. But you know, Ready Player One just decided we're just gonna use all CGI.
Right. But I think that's what made it more appealing, all the CGI. Because I don't think people would have went to see the movie if it was in the real world.
Yeah.
It would have been kind of like really boring. Because what made it the most stand out was the Easter eggs, like we talked before. Like all the Easter eggs that you could see everywhere. That's what gets people excited. The nostalgia of watching it.
I agree with you on that. I think if it was more practical effects, then it might have given it like kind of like a Matrix vibe to it.
Yeah.
So since CGI was such a huge focus on the film, I feel like other areas suffered, you know, such as the story.
True. As most people know or don't know, Ready Player One is based on a novel. Now, of course, there are bound to be some changes made when a book gets into a movie. However, Ready Player One almost depicts an entirely different story. The timeline is shortened for a couple years to just a month or two. It's obviously made less violent for rating purposes, and the characters are mainly overweight, but were made skinny for the Hollywood film. On top of this, there are various potholes and weird moments stemming from the plot and script.
As someone who saw the movie as just a film and not as a person that read the book, I observed that the film was targeting the current generation. I was disappointed with the character development in the film. The abundance of pop culture references to me took away the focus on the characters. Not only the abundance of references, but the amount of time in the film did not allow the characters to develop properly. The book did a great job at creating likable characters, and it could be seen through the amount of people that were excited to see the movie. However, the movie made me personally fall in love with the special effects more than the characters themselves. The visuals were amazing, but the characters felt stagnant. There were no development, and even when, spoiler alert, when Wade's mom dies, Wade shows hardly any emotion, he just continues playing the game. The objective of the film was to awe the audience with the visual effects. The writers and director Spielberg seemed to focus more on revealing Oasis. Oasis was a major part of the film, but it was spent with the cost of characters / story development. The storyline in the film felt too abrupt, barely any explanation on how the virtual world works. It just places viewers into a world without any full understanding, and even in the end, I felt like I didn't understand the world.
So it seems that Ready Player One wanted to reel people in on visuals and references. This earned it a decent rating, but made it fall short of being great.
There are many great things about the movie, from the gorgeous CGI virtual world to the abundance of childhood and modern pop icons. But of course, stories will always change when made into visual form.
Regardless if you hate or love the movie, filmmakers should always keep in mind what they're selling and who they want to sell it to. Ready Player One knew exactly how to do that and gave us exactly what we saw.
Ready Player One was a creative film with gorgeous CGI and entertaining pop cultural references. However, The movie prioritizes flashy aspects that make the story suffer. Filmmakers can learn from Ready Player One that a beautiful movie can be good, but a developed story can do even better. This is Queen, signing off. Bye.